Hi everyone, it's Kenzy Knoxx and welcome back to my YouTube page. Today we'll be following along the TheArtSherpas, how to paint with acrylic dolphins dancing on wave. I'm only painting the ocean wave part of it because I've struggled with waves, so I'm really excited to jump in, so let's get started. Using my 1-inch flat brush, I'm going to be dipping into my phthalo blue and white and making a nice soft mixture for the sky. And in fact, we're just going to paint our entire canvas with this color, essentially priming it and getting it ready to take on the other colors of the canvas. And if you have any trouble with the paint spreading on your canvas, feel free to tap into some water or use a spray bottle to help that paint slide along. Then transfer from your brush to your canvas. And you can use any sort of paintbrush that you feel that you want to use. You don't have to go ahead and use this paintbrush. You can use an angular brush, you can use a flat brush, you can use a filbert brush, anything that just gets that paint on that canvas. So once we're done with that, we're now going to use our little stippling brush to create little clouds in the sky, and they're only going to go to about a quarter of the way down the canvas because that is going to be where our ocean starts. And so I'm just dragging some white paint along, just creating some bubbly clouds very lightly, very soft touch. You don't want to push too hard or take on too much paint because then you'll create these cotton ball clouds that you think clouds are, but they really aren't. And by creating layers, you can actually accent the clouds better, and they'll look much more realistic than would your cotton clouds. And don't be hard on yourself. Clouds are very hard to do, and they took me a very long time to learn. So just take your time and work it out and figure it out and take a step back and just look at your clouds and think, do those really look like the clouds in the sky? And you can even go outside to take a look outside because sometimes that in fact helps. So just make your clouds, take your time, make sure that you're happy with them. I'm just making little wiggly lines and dragging them out. Sometimes you can make little wispy lines horizontally and those look like clouds. We're just kissing the canvas. And as you can see, every time I pick up some white paint, I'm trying to push it out on the canvas because I don't want each cloud to be the same color of white because then they would all blend into each other. So you want some darkness, some contrast between each of the clouds that you have. Or you could paint one big jolly old cloud if you really want to. It's up to you, but you can see that I take the paint and I spread it out pretty well because clouds are transparent for the most part. They are just little water droplets in the air. Okay, so now that we're done our clouds, we're going to move on and draw out our main wave. So this is just a very faint line. You can use a very light white, almost a transparent white. And we're just simply drawing out this wave line that's going to be the crashing wave. It basically starts at the quarter of the way up the canvas and it comes up to a peak and then falls back down, almost just like a hill. And now taking our deep blue color, we're going to go back up to our cloud line, which is a quarter of the way down the canvas, and just drawing our ocean line just across the canvas, just simply like that. Just draw a line right across, and then we're going to start filling in our ocean above the wave line. And make sure when you're drawing in the ocean waves or the ocean paint, make sure that they are horizontal lines only. We don't want all these swirls and circles and whatnot because water looks more realistic with horizontal lines. and they look more like wave lines in the distance, and even in the foreground they look like wave lines. Again, we're just using this color above the wave line that we had previously drawn in. Once we're done softening up the water, we're just going to use a little white with that deep blue color, and we're going to just create some haze and some reflection into the water. So this would be reflection from the clouds. So just create these horizontal lines that are just, in the background, in the foreground, and all over. And make sure the farther away they are, the smaller or thinner the lines are. Right now we're just trying to create some sort of distance and some sort of reflections, and so don't focus too much on just creating these singular lines. We're just trying to create some sort of texture here, so we will be going back in with a darker color afterwards. Now we're going to take some deep blue and we're going to create some deeper areas of the ocean, so going back over the light areas. So we're just creating layers here, so it'll create a more vibrant painting in the end. So you'll be happy that we went over this ocean area multiple times, but the darker the water, it'll look like the deeper the water. So now we're going to take some phthalo blue and a little bit of yellow, and we're going to add just a slightly different shade to the water, and this is just going to be in a few different spots, and it will add a little more realistic look to the water. So now taking our deep blue, we're going to create these swooping up movements with the color, and these are going to create that dark shade under the wave. And we need this area to be darker because this is a shadowed area and the water is thick or deeper here. So, and we want the waves to have this shape, so make sure you're creating these curved lines. It's important that these curved lines have that fluid look to them. So we don't want these lines straight down, we want them curved. Make sure you have that curve. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's very important to have this shape when you're painting a wave. And you can see that I took some of that phthalo blue and yellow and also added that in to our water. So I added some aqua color to the water. And since we need this portion of the water to be the darkest shade possible, we're going to create multiple layers of paint. And you can add a little bit of the green color to add aqua shade to the water itself too. Okay, so go ahead and rinse out your brush. And we're going to pick up some of that blue color and some white and fill in this small little area on the right side, because this is an area where the wave will be crashing over but not fully, and so the whole water underneath won't be shadowed right here. And I'm also taking this color and just going up top too and filling above the water line, or up to the water line. Okay, so now taking some white ultramarine, we're going to be drawing in the crashing wave that's on top of the shadowed water. And you can just follow me as I go up and down and around, creating that, the curling wave. And I'm going to continue over with that ultramarine blue and white and fill in the rest of that light area on the left side of the wave. Okay, so now I'm going to take a brush and softly blend in the top curling wave portion of the wave. Dipping my brush back into the ultramarine, I'm going to add another coat of acrylic paint to the deeper portion of the wave, or the darker portion of the wave. Okay, go ahead and rinse out your brush. And taking my number 4 filbert brush, I'm going to dip that into some water and get it wet, tap off the drips, and grab some deep blue color, and we're going to start working on the water in the background, adding some deeper shades and some depth to the water. Starting on the right side, and we're just going to bring that in towards the center, but not all the way to the center. And then once we're done with the right side, we'll move to the left side and we'll create the same sort of effect, so it'll draw our eye into the center of the ocean. And basically that's usually where the lightest part of the water would be anyway, So now I'm working on my left side and bringing in those shadows and deeper waters towards the center, but remember to leave the center alone. So now using my number 4 or 6 filbert brush, I'm going to take that deep blue and start creating that shadow area again, just to create lots and lots of layers of that dark color, because we need this area to remain very dark. The area I'm focusing on right now is where the wave will be crashing over, and then as we move to the left, there will be no wave really crashing over, but it'll be almost cresting, and then to the far left, the water will be crusting or crashing over again. And again, we're just using that ultramarine blue just to create lots of layers of dark color, because this color doesn't appear to be creating such a dark, dramatic color that we need it to. So the more layers you create, the darker the color will be. And so that's what we're doing. And so TheArtSherpas said that this was a shortcut to creating some sea foam. So you can see with the ultramarine blue, we created a line going across the top and then some zigzagging lines that come down. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but I guess we'll see when it comes to that point. So at the bottom of the wave, the sun will be able to see or reflect on the ocean at that point. So the water should go at the top from light to dark to very dark to actually lighter again. So we're just creating that sort of effect. And also we're creating these like sea foamy layers. So if you follow the lines that we created and creating the sea foam in line with those lines, you'll get nice little sea foam lines, if that makes sense. I highly recommend watching the TheArtSherpa's video tutorial on this sea wave painting, because she explains it much better than I do, and I still didn't quite get the concept that she was trying to explain, so I didn't achieve the right sea foam look that she achieved, but I did create some sea foam okay. And so now I'm taking just that ultramarine blue and a little bit of white and creating a lighter shade of color, and I'm just going along the bottom where I think the sun would be reflecting off the water. So now we're creating part of the water where the water is cresting over the wave, and so this area is going to be like an aqua-y color of the ocean that we kind of added in the background, so like the blue with a little bit of yellow and some white in it, and so this will be bright and aqua-y in color. And so now I'm taking that aqua color and going between these dark blue lines that we previously created. In the end, I believe I kind of just went over them because they didn't work out the way that they should have, or the way that she tried to show how to make them. This video was a bit difficult to follow, I'm not gonna lie, so I kind of tried to do my own thing, and I didn't mind how it came out, but I'm still working very hard on trying to create the perfect sea wave, and I've yet to done so. And so now I'm just taking that aqua green color and I'm just filling in the lighter area of the wave that we had previously painted in with the ultramarine blue and white color. And just so you know, so some of these lighter areas will just be from the sunshine shining through the wave, and some of these areas will be the wave actually crashing over. So just keep that in mind, that this entire painting won't be just one crashing wave coming over. It'll be a little bit of a crashing wave here, and then a bit of a wave just peeking up, and then probably crashing over again, if that makes sense. So I'm just taking that light aqua blue and green color and just creating layers and layers upon layers. And acrylic paint does dry darker when than it is wet, so just keep that in mind. And that's another reason why we just keep adding these lighter layers, because we need to build up the color so that it shows as light as we want it to in the end. And so now I'm going to take a little bit lighter color and try to figure out which portion of my wave I want to crash over. So I'm just drawing this little section of a wave that will be cresting over the top of the wave itself. I'm grabbing a little bit more white paint to that aqua color mixture. I'm going to draw out or paint out the rest of the crashing wave on the right side, the further right side, and it's going to peek over a little bit farther than that previous portion that we made. And I'm going to carry this color over until we get to that little area where I drew in those blue lines. I'm not sure what those are exactly for, but I don't think the wave will be crashing over that section. I think that section just comes up to a peak on the wave, but doesn't actually crash over the wave. So adding more white to my dirty brush, I'm just going to try to create that crashing wave more dramatically on my painting so it stands out more and that I can see it better. And all of these layers that we create will just create a more dramatic and more realistic painting. So it's really great that you create multiple layers of paint. It's really important to do that. And now you can see that I'm moving over to the left side after that little shadowy area of the wave, and I'm just creating the crashing wave on that area. And now I'm going to take my paintbrush and just create more of a hook on certain portions of the wave so that it really crashes downward. After rinsing out my brush, I'm going to take a little bit of the darker aqua color and just fix up a little bit of the area underneath the wave that would be more of a shadow there. After rinsing out your brush thoroughly, we're going to take a deep blue color, almost blue and black maybe, and going under this guy over here and creating some shadows, some deep shadows under the big crashing portions of the wave. And this is important to do because you really want to create some contrast in this area so that it looks more 3D and more realistic. And remember that our lines underneath the wave need to remain curved, so you want to paint in those lines in a curved formation. That way it looks linear with the wave and it will create that swooping effect that a wave creates. And now taking some deep blue color, we are just going to create the thicker portions of the wave where the sunlight wouldn't really come through because the water is so thick in these areas. It also can be used underneath the shadow area, so we're just again creating layers. So now again I'm taking that blue-black color and just going back under those waves and reiterating those shadows areas from the crashing waves. We really want these to be dark in color. Now I'm just taking that dark color and fixing up some of the waves to make it more realistic in how I want it to look. And I'm also going over those little lined areas that we created earlier, which I'm not really sure what they are going to be used for, but again we will see what happens with those. Once we're done with this, we're going to rinse out our brush thoroughly and take our smaller brush and we're going to take some white and create some sea foam. At this point I am taking my brush and just dabbing in little areas of white that I think the sea foam would appear on the crashing wave. And so take your time with this. I know I did because I wasn't really positive where to put this, but take your time and just look at your painting, take a step back, and just think about where you think that the sea foam would be showing up on a crashing wave. Now using the same brush, I am trying to create some sea foam below the wave that's on the curling under portion of the wave. And again, I refer to the TheArtSherpas video because I believe she explained this much better than I do. I don't even know how to explain sea foam or where to begin with it. I have the most trouble with this, and if anyone has any tips, please let me know because I really need some help in this area. So for this portion of the wave, I'm actually using a white and blue mixture just because the sea foam under the wave wouldn't necessarily be white, but it's in the shadowed area, so you want it to be more blue in color than in white, I guess you could say. So for this next area, we're going to use a lighter color of white and blue mixture, maybe even some aqua yellow in there, and we're just going to add a little sea foam to this open area where the wave isn't necessarily crashing over, but is cresting up to the wave top. And then we go back to our white and blue color that we create the sea foam underneath the wave in the shadowed areas. So what I'm doing is I'm basically drawing in the zigzags that follow along the curve of the wave, the bend of the wave portion that we painted earlier in the painting, and it's just going up and down and up and down and following that curved line, and I find that that helps a lot with the sea foam. Remember to draw the sea foam lighter in the areas that you believe the sun would be hitting the water, or where the water is lighter, and then you want to draw darker sea foam where there's a shadow of the wave crashing over it, and those would be the darker areas of the water. When drawing the sea foam, you just want to remember not to cover the entire portion of the entire wave, because you do want those darker portions of the water to show through too. So as I'm finishing up with the sea foam, I realized that it might be easier if you hear the TheArtSherpa in the background explaining things, so going forward there might be a little bit of background noise, but it might be more helpful in the end, so I hope it's not too much for you. So I'm going to switch off my angular brush.
Is that kind of a dry brush?
This is a dry brush. I always wipe off the extra, but
I'm taking white now.
very light brush. Coming on and finding little highlights.
As you can see here, I'm using some white paint just to highlight the lower portion of the waves in the sea foam, and that's because that's the areas where the sunlight will be hitting the sea foam and it'll be the brightest in color.
Have some of the highlight be down here, right? Look at that. All in the highlight. Just helps our wave take a little bit of shape. Now, tops of waves can be very stressful. So we're going to take our nugget. I'm going to get it. It was dry. You want it to be slightly damp, but nothing you can squeeze out of it. I'm just going to dip it kind of into my white weave. I'm going to let a little smidge of the aqua get into it. this to get the better top of the crashing wave. Sometimes it just feels overwhelming to get the crashing wave, doesn't it? Wonder who is overwhelmed by crashing wave. When I come here, you can see my nugget, how it's loaded. Top.
What do you think you should pick? I don't think it matters if you
Bring a little bit over the front of the wave. Look at that. Who's freaking out?
There she's using, okay, she's using a sponge. I don't have a sponge, so I'm going to use my stippling brush, or my little blending mop brushes.
If you think
I'll try this one first. Just grab some white
do anything in my algorithm, but I'm just saying, let us know.
in the center. I'm just going to start over here. And as I'm adding the splashes to the waves, I am just simply dabbing my brush very lightly, very lightly, and creating these waves and splash zones of the wave. I have found this method to be very effective when creating wave-like formations such as this.
Up and down tapping motion. If you drag, it's going to make a drag mark like that. So definitely make sure that you're taking advantage.
And I'm also taking this splashing effect and I'm just carrying it along the wave where it's splashing over the crest of the wave and onto the other areas of the water.
Light pressure back here where I'm just doing this open splash, right?
And we're going to continue with that white splashing zone area until we're satisfied with our wave formation.
No more white with a little white highlight. Look at that.
Okay, and then we're going to add a little more.
Definitely found the thumbs up and the thumbs up emojis. and definitely like this.
Are we done though in our awesomeness? No, my goodness, guys, we are not done in our awesomeness.
Alright, so now we're going to take our filbert brush, dip it in the white, and we're just going to tap along the top.
Might even.
I'm just tapping.
Talking about it pulling down in the water, and then we're going to come up to the top and we're going to.
So now I'm just taking some white and I'm drawing in the sea foam on top of the waves, which will be white because it's in the sunlight and it can be clearly seen and it's bright and brilliant in color.
In this area.
Yes.
Okay. This is a good place to do that.
Yeah, even if you're doing beginner level paints, craft paints, upgrade your wave. See how we're like breaking up the top of that wave? Talking about that little space right there. And then you can even like show some of these more thought out watermarks that are happening down here. That part of the wave. And as if that's not enough yummy brush for whatever brush you use to splatter, you're probably good where you are. This is for those of you that are taking it to that next level.
Since she's doing a splatter sort of painting, I don't like to do the splatter, so I'm taking another mop brush and I'm just adding in some more splashes and some more water characteristics to the splashy areas of the wave, which will create the same sort of effect as the splattering effect that she's using.
Now doesn't it look like our wave is having a whole moment? Take them on a tour. All of that texture.
How that texture is just so different.
Energetic little wave, isn't it?
You guys for hanging out and staying with us. We love having you guys here. Don't forget, check out in the link in the description down lead you to it will in just like 2 seconds our website. And so the On our website, you're going to find all sorts of cool things, like, and I'll put one up here, this little hoop meter, where, there it is, it's that little hoop meter. You can go out to our website, and you can find where we cinnamon rates these paintings on a level of 1 to 3 hoots, and you can go out there and find that hoop meter on all of the pages.
I'm going to take this brush here. I'm going to take a lighter red white below. That is really light like the sky. I'm going to put that down here. I reiterate how bright this area is. I feel like this fading got darker. This brush is the best brush. Yeah, look at that. Nice. Filbert. I like filbert. Grab it. Just a little stiffer bristled.
We spare nothing to outfit the kitchen with everything you'd ever need, like lots of healthy snacks. Knot and spin. Kitchen breakfast bar, kitchen breakfast bar, kitchen. Oh, I'm dizzy. But before we leave, check this out. Pretty. I need my black velvet number, no, my ruby satin number 2, but I guess I got my angle right now. I need the, I need probably fresh water and a ruby satin number 2. You can do it, or Honey can do it, or somebody can do it. That's not how I do it. So, in the next part, we're going to sketch in our little fella, and we're going to be working on this, furthest back going forward as we're sketching it out so we get a nice layer. You can customize this and make this meaningful to your life. Like if you have a particular family size, like if you're a family member, if you're like, no, I'm a lone dolphin, right? I do this myself, I'm awesome. You can do this lone dolphin. However you want to swim in the ocean, let that reflect. Actually,
If you're wondering what they're talking about in the background, they're talking about dolphins, which I'm not painting in this painting. Just to let you know.
the things that we look at, who we are.
Okay, perfect. Now I think we should take
Now I have
this
traced
brush.
it has all the dolphins very carefully and meticulously
And
sketched.
grab that
I'm just
white.
freehand paint them. I hope it works out really well.
Try to create
And to do that, I'm going to take a little bit of my
the seafood.
turquoise and my black, and I'm going to do this where hopefully you can see this go in. So at this point of the wave, I'm going to say that there's a little fellow and his back goes above the horizon line a bit. Right? And he comes down, or she, nice little angle. And I need to get my brush pencil making that nice little arc. I'm doing this so you can kind of see how I put them in. But again, you've got the traceable, so if you're like, yeah, that ain't me. I don't mind.
It's not me.
Is it not? Like, it's not me, it's not me. I'm going to put the little bottle nose part of him in right here. And right off here, and not too particularly off. Right? We're going to do the little nose part here. Remember that? Comes back. Goes down. Get that all in, and hopefully we got a good shape there. The dolphins are not going to end up crazy by the end of this lesson. But I mean, it can happen. I don't worry about the tail.
I don't know what this area is supposed to be. This is very good confusing for me.
So soaking it out.
So I should do the blue on the top.
You can use, if you want to sketch on your canvas, you can use the kind of chalk you use on a chalkboard. I'm going to go ahead and add a little fin.
part of the
there's
wave, I think.
fin coming back. It's actually pretty far back on the back.
It were. Would it be darker?
Yeah, we got
So
one
a little
fin is
green.
hidden in the body, only one fin is coming out. So right now, if you notice, we're kind of dealing with the silhouette. Right, so I'm only painting his silhouette.
She just uses those little bottles of craft paint.
Yes.
Is she okay with using that for this?
Yes. Craft paint is, we give no shade to craft painters here at all. Use your craft paint.
As I wrap up my video, I hope that you guys enjoyed my YouTube tutorial, and I hope it was super helpful and enjoyable. And remember to like it below and to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye!